If you want to be able to draw the graffiti letter R like these 6 different variations here, stick around to the end of the video because I'll be explaining how to do it. Let's go. An R is made up of 3 basic shapes, okay? So here, 1, 2, 3. And all we're going to do is thicken it up right here. Remember this little reference points. I don't want to go too much into the simpler forms. I'm going to go show you now how to make it more advanced. But now knowing this information, let's see what happens when we take shape number 1. This one here. Instead of going up straight, think to yourself, experiment, what happens if I just were to go this direction? Shape 1. So now think of it like Lego. We're going to put the first brick down. For this, I'm just going to do a rectangle like so, on the slant. And shape number 2, let's just squish that down so it's more of that sort of shape, like a C. And I'm going to thicken that up too, just like we did with the first one. 1, 2. And now with the third, let's say if we just detach it and just throw a shape here. Really simple. But a great way to start the lesson to then evolve into other letters. Okay, so let's say for this shape here, we're going to make it thinner at the bottom, and as we slowly get up, we're going to meet the point we originally put down. So, like that, and the same here, it starts to small at the bottom, and we're going to slowly make it get bigger as it goes to the top. Here in the top of the R, let's have it so it starts thick at the bottom, and the same again. We'll just turn this into a filler line, like so, and have it shoot back. As for this shape, we can do the same, just put a bit more bend on it and have it come smaller towards the bottom, like so. And also, here's a good little point, we can have it a little bit, just to keep the first letter simple, just overshoot a tiny bit. And now you can even add a few add-ons if you like, so you can break this up, add a connective here. So here we're just going to do these lines connecting the top to the bottom. And at the bottom here, instead of going straight down, I'm actually going to break it coming inwards to fill this space up. But without putting the foundations in first, I wouldn't be able to find the places to launch and change the art up. So it's just about finding it and making it flow a little bit. Like so. This will be the simplest art we do today, so stay with me. I just want to show you through the basics and then take it to a bit more advanced. And if there's any of you that already know all this sort of stuff, feel free to skip. There'll be timestamps in the video. You can just skip ahead and jump to more of the complex letters like letter 3 or letter 4. Really simple art, this is. Really effective, really cool. Once that, grab yourself your black marker and just pick up the bits you want to keep and then get rid of the bits you obviously don't want and rub out later. And that's it, that's the first art of today, and this will be the most simplest form. If you've seen some of my other tutorials, I normally jump into more complex straight away, but I really want to just take it back a little bit because I understand not everyone's at a place where they feel like they can jump into the deep end. So now I'm just going to up it a little bit and add a bit more complexity to it. But the same rules and foundations are going to go again. I'm going to keep telling you this until it's drilled into your head. I don't care if you find it fun or not, but this is how it gets to building up a letter. Shape 1, shape 1, shape 1. Okay, for this, curve it. Shape 1's now curved. Here it's going to get thicker towards the top like we did here, but this time we're going to go with the curve as you go up. And do likewise on the other side here. Start off very small, and as you go up, slowly bridge the gap. And I say slowly here, don't want to go too extreme and start throwing it off crazy, just very slowly so the eye can just about see it bend out. Once in place here, just shut off the shape with a line. And here, we're going to follow the shape, bring it straight over to the top. And primarily what we're doing here is taking shape 2 and we're dividing that into its 2.1, 2.2. So this will be 2.1 and we're just adding it and just imagine it's another shape, bang, and here's this line here is 2.2. Hope that makes sense there. Don't want to throw you off with the math language. And here we're just going to throw it back really loose and bring it back in. Just do the shape. So it's just coming around like so. What really helps here is just keep your wrist loose. If you're someone who struggles to keep your lines loose, I'd advise you get a piece of paper separate from anything and just start drawing random shapes, circles and squares. Do that for 15 minutes just to get your mind in the process of doing letters and keeping the shapes real loose. That always helps. Sort of like a warm-up for the mind. Because it's hard, obviously, if you live in the world where you're thinking about your day-to-day and then suddenly you're on a piece of paper and now you're drawing. Sometimes it's nice to ease into it and just loosen up. Tell your mind it's time to chill, it's time just to get creative and just enjoy the process. Right. Shape 1 and the shape 2s. And now for this, I think I'm just going to do it so it comes overarching down. And here at the bottom, we're just going to throw something like a rectangle up. But this is what's so cool about the letter R is it acts as a P. Obviously, there's your P. Real simple again. That's a simple P, but leads nice to like a sort of a semi-throw-up style. And the back here, I'm just going to probably add something here. I feel like this has to be something here, so I'm just going to throw... Actually, let me just throw a block in here. I'm trying to look for some obscure shapes, that way it looks way more unique. But look what happens from here, the simple form, and then I start adding this block shape in. And then you just upped your complexity tenfold. And you can even start by just doing simple things like that, adding the shape. You can almost push it towards getting towards wild. It isn't wild style now, obviously, but say if I was to keep going with this to no end, I could 100% make it wild. But that only gets birthed from the fact it was simple to begin with and it evolved and transformed into that. Just like a caterpillar would into a butterfly. It has to start somewhere, get stronger, build its way up until it transmutes into something else. I could keep going with this R. Let me show you what I mean by that. If I keep going, I'm going to do this quick because I want to move on to the other letters too. Let's say right now, I wanted to throw this shape out. This rectangle, I could do so. I could throw another one coming up and down, just a random shape. But it connects to the throw off, so it's thrown back and then it's thrown back here. The square, I could notch it off there so it has that and it comes straight across and it fires up. And I'm just adding as I go, and that's how you can use add-ons to completely transform your letters. But still, to take all the add-ons away, that's simple. That's a real simple letter. Okay guys, that's a little bit more of a complex way to do things. I'm going to line it all for you so you can see it a lot clearer, and see where I'm going with the lines. And then the third letter, we're going to turn it from this to something I would say is really complex. and that's the level up of the letter R. Obviously real simple, a bit more complex, but as you can see, it's just taking the foundational shapes and then we're building up on it. And now let's take it to the next stage, which would be the third R. And it's pretty fun and interesting to see how the letters, when it's simple, it starts off that size and then it slowly has a tendency to grow on the page. This is why I always recommend buying something like bigger than A3 sketchbooks, and they get filled up quick. Okay, so shape number 1 again. Where it had one slowly bend, let's see what happens when we bend it more. So we're going to add more curvature. But instead of curving it, so instead of having this, we're going to up, left, right. And we're just going to thicken it up. So shape 1 up here. And I'm just going to sketch it in because I want to keep some of the lines loose and hopefully be able to pick them out later to add more detail. 2. And 3 here. So it's just getting smaller and working its way up and getting bigger at the top. Obviously here again, I'm going to try and keep it so it's thin here and throw it all the way back, keeping it quite closed off. And then I'm going to have it so let's have it so it comes forward. Yeah, that looks right. That's your second shape here. Kind of reminds me of Alien or something here with the heavy front, that shell-like headpiece. And I want a bit of block in the background here. This is a really obscure sort of shape, but as I always say, if you have obscure shapes, don't see that as a weakness, see that as a strength, and other artists aren't using that. Because creating the shapes that no one else is creating, that's what stands you out. That's like, even like artists like Smo and stuff, if you look at his letters, he's using sort of a lot of details in his letters not people haven't done. Say like, you know, he puts the shines in the 3D, he really sees realistic 3D, and that's what makes him stand out loads. And you need to start thinking of not just the art, but how can you do something that isn't done on the daily? If you can get that on lockdown, you can progress and stand out quicker than anyone else. If that's what your goal is. So it might not be your goal to stand out, it might be your goal just to make it better for yourself, and that itself is a noble goal. And here, I'm going to sort of create a round off shape here. Now a lot of you, a lot of artists, graffiti artists, let's say gurus as they like to call themselves, would probably argue the fact that there's no congruency in this layer because you've got square shapes with rounded shapes and then block shapes, and it looks, but screw all that, man, it's not about that, it's just about finding the shape and form that looks correct and you enjoy. The foundation's in place, it's all correct, and build a letter that stands out and it has a distinguished style. Throw that in. Like so. Then you start adjusting the smaller bits which you put in before, just to match and go with everything else. Just like that. This is a completely different art, as you can see, completely different style, but I kind of like it. It's kind of cool, it's got character. And probably break that in two, like so. As always, you get the lines in the place where you're happy with it. Grab your marker and you want to go over the whole lot, picking the lines you want to keep. And that's why it's good to have a loose, sketchy underline, because then you can start picking it out with the pen, the bits you want to keep, and that helps to have a variation of lines that you want to select.
Torn
you have it. From taking the foundations and building up, you can create a completely new letter like this R here. I really want to show you guys more of a variety of styles that come up through this tutorial. So I'm going to show you what happens when you start off with the starting shape at a different direction. So instead of coming this way, we're going to throw shape number 1 like so. Just like we've been doing in the previous R's. Got shape 1. And from there, just going to put a block on the front. Like so. And have it so it comes down. So a different R here, different shapes, but it's still got the 3 foundation shapes in place. 1, 2, 3. And from here, I'm just gonna put the loop in. Like that. So I'm just gonna take it back to more of a simpler R, but in a completely different style. Here, I'm just gonna put an add-on, so it's gonna block out, so it's standing on something strong, and run it along. Like so. And now that's in place, can you guess where is the empty space on this R? And that would be probably this situation here, this place here. So for this, I'm just gonna add a shape to fill it in. Just cap it like that. Maybe make it a bit smaller, like that, just to fill out that space. And give it something a bit different there, adding on to the R. Here I'm just going to break this up into little rectangles, like so, just so it's not as plain. But yeah, more of a blockbuster style, way more simpler than the others, but it's just a different variation, so you can look at and see whether you're feeling it or not, or whether that's a style you sort of like to do. I'm gonna grab myself the marker now, and like all the others, just continue to go around until we finish this letter R. That's the 4th R for us today. As you can see, it's quite intriguing how you can get from this simple form to this, and even a completely different style. And all I'm doing is using the principle of taking it down to shapes, 1, 2, 3, and rebuilding it to create something completely new and never been seen before. So for the 5th R, because I've gone back to a bit of a simpler form but showing you a different way to do it, I'm going to go a bit even crazier than all the letters put together. And come up with the last result. So for this, the shape number 1, I'm gonna start off by breaking it like so. So it's got a break here, but it's still one shape. And at the top, I'm gonna keep it so it starts off big at the top and it comes down, getting smaller, funneling down like so. And here I'm just gonna overreach this shape and bring it back, so it gives an indication of that is coming through and flowing. From here, I'm actually going to do it so it curls in. Keep it quite a weird, organic, fantasy-like shape. And bring it around, like we did with this shape here. Very organic looking letter this is like almost like a stem coming up. Do a twirl so it centers off, just give you something different, and bring it up like so. I love it when you can turn a letter and make it look like it has some sort of animal characteristic. I think that's really cool, and a few artists that can do that really well. Here I'm just going to do the back end of the P so it throws around. And for this, I'm going to just keep it simple and bring it down with a rectangle right in front of it. And then bring it back in. Just like that. Here at the back, I'm just going to create an extra shape. I feel like it's a bit empty, so I'm going to look for something to fill it in. I'm going to do this heart shape, because you've got to share the love here. And throw a line come behind, and then drop down. A bit of shape here, like so. And that's the basic construct of something completely different. Like I said, way more organic. This is just adjusting this rectangle now, make it a little bit bigger because I think it's just going to look visually more pleasing. And where I've done this curl, I'm going to incorporate that, and I think I'm going to do it here as well. Just so it has some sort of congruent feel throughout the whole letter. Really cool, really fancy looking R. I've just realised that was half out the camera, guys, so I hope you only caught half of that. But what I'm going to do now is grab the marker, take the lid off, line it up, and talk about the last letter R afterwards. That's the video, guys. 5 graffiti letters, all done for you. How you can draw the art in completely different ways. And I really want to, this is why there's a variation of styles, like everything's, I want to keep it as different as I can. So you can see something you like and you can go and just, like, you can take this letter and practice it and get better at forming that letter and that shape, and you add to it and you stretch it and then you create your own style. That's what I'm trying to do with these lessons. If you've been watching these for a long time, you know for the last letter, I'm just gonna let the camera roll on. That way I could just take bits I want from each letter, pile it all together, piece it into one and create something new and just concentrate fully on that. But as you watch as well, you see what I'm doing and learn from osmosis. Yeah guys, let's do the 6th graffiti letter R. 6th R for the day. It's quite cool. It's a really unique looking R. Kind of looks like an elephant, just sort of bent over and this trunk coming down here. But I was just playing with the shapes, just trying to, I'd rather try a new letter and try and get somewhere that hasn't been done before and maybe not look as cool, than stick to what other people are doing and just have a mediocrity result, if that makes sense. Ugh, words going everywhere. Thank you guys for everyone who's made it this far. I mean, if you're putting in the work and you're doing 6 letters a video, my god, you grinding hard. I need to say a massive thank you to everyone on the Patreon team, because without your support, I wouldn't have the free time to make as many tutorials as I am at the moment, and it really does mean the world to me, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. As always, keep creating, hope you're all doing well during this time, and peace.